Alright, what is up YouTube? It is the Ville Outdoors here. Today is June 27th of 2024. I'm here at my local creek. This is only about 10 minutes or less from my house. And we're just going to be scanning the creek here and see what things look like at night. I never fished one of my local creeks at night before. I've done some night fishing at some other streams, but never anywhere local. So we're going to be checking that out today and see if it produces anything. Now, looking on some of the resources I have available to me, there is a couple species that could be new to me that reside in this creek here. One being margin madtom and the other being northern hogsucker. Now, I'm not expecting to come up with a lifer today really, but if we do get one, that would be great. But I'm more or less here just on like a scouting mission and checking things out, seeing how things are. So I have the Ugly Stik Elite that I'm going to be fishing with this evening, and we have on here the Tanago hooks with a little split shot just about an inch or two above that, just so I can have that split shot closer to the hook, have a little bit of control of where I'm placing my bait. But yeah, we're going to be scanning the bottom here. I see a couple shiners, but that's not what we're going to be after here. So the riffles are going to be key. The margin madtom supposedly likes clear creeks around riffles particularly, so that's what we're going to be targeting. But this will more or less be a scouting mission. If we come across what we're after, that'd be great, but I don't have my hopes too high. So let me get baited up with a little worm on here and see what we can do. Alright, I just put the worm back on. The bugs are absolutely driving me crazy. I'm going to try and catch this darter right here. Got him. See what we got here. It is a good old-fashioned tessellated darter. Let's go ahead and take a shot of this guy. My first one out of French Creek, actually. Just proof that we don't get skunked today. There he is. Bugs are all over me. Oh, and there he goes. Look at that, guys. New species on the board. That is a margin madtom right there. My first one ever. I forgot to record because I was so focused on catching that fish, but that fish is in fact hooked in the mouth on a piece of worm. That is sick right there. Let me get the photo tank prepared for you guys, that way we can take a better look at that fish. I knew that would work. I upsized my piece of worm and I got him. That is the margin madtom right there. All right, let me get him a drink of water. Then we'll get the photo tank out of the bag and we can take a better look at this guy. This is the only one I've seen the whole time I've been fishing. Let's make sure he doesn't flop off here. These guys do have some pretty good, I guess we call it pelvic spines, maybe we call it dorsal spines, that have different varieties of toxins in them, and the strength depends on what species they are, but usually it's not too bad that you can get away with holding them. All right, got the photo tank out. Let's get some clean water in here. There we go. Let's get this guy situated in here. Nope, I didn't like that. Maybe a little less water. There he goes. Catfish in the photo tank. That is the margin madtom there. He's not positioned the best in the photo tank, but you know, it's a little catfish. What would you expect him to do? But there he is. That is definitely the margin madtom right there. I'm literally shaking. I had no expectations of catching a new species tonight, but there he is. This saves me like an hour drive into New Jersey to get this guy. That is sick. Let Let me take some better shots of this guy, and then we're gonna let him go. You might be able to tell from the camera there, but I upsized my worm quite a bit to catch that little catfish there. He was stationed right alongside one of these rocks we have bordering the stream, and I just kind of dropped a little bit bigger piece of nightcrawler right in front of him, or at least right by the rock I assumed he was by. And it didn't take much for that worm to get that catfish's attention, and there we have it, a new species, number 159 for me, the margin Madtom, not the tadpole Madtom. That is found in New Jersey. They're not really found in Pennsylvania as far as I know. I know they can be found in New York and a bunch of other different states. Their range is pretty wide. The margin Madtom's range is also pretty wide. Goes up and down the East Coast, pretty much stretching all the way down to Georgia as far as I know. Maybe a little bit more than that even, but yeah, super cool that we were able to catch that species of fish. I also had the northern hogsucker nibbling on my bait a little bit when I was upstream a little further, and I hadn't seen much walking down here. I just saw a glimpse of fish rubbing up against a rock, and I had thoughts in my head that that could have been the fish we were after. And sure enough, I took a closer look and I saw little whiskers hanging from that fish's head, and that is indeed the margin Madtom. So it's good to see that they're in this creek, and I didn't even have to switch spots for that. I had 2 other spots mapped out to find my targets tonight, and I didn't have to go to either of the other 2 spots. I have found both fish in this particular spot here. Now we just need to work on getting that northern hogsucker to bite. I had one individual who was interested in the bait and was nibbling at it, but I couldn't get him on the hook. So we're gonna head back up there and keep at that for a little while and see if we can get that fish to bite. Oh guys, I finally got one of the suckers to bite, but I think it just might be a white sucker. That's a little disappointing. I'm still going to take shots of it just in case, but I think that is going to be a white sucker. The mouth doesn't look right for that to be a northern hogsucker. Boo! Alright guys, it is currently about 10:41 p.m. I've been at this for about an hour and 45 minutes, just about. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to call it for today and go back home. This creek's only like 10 minutes from my house, so it's not bad at all. But I leave for vacation on the 5th of July. It is now June 27th. My goal is to try and get a northern hogsucker from one of these creeks before that time, before we leave, because I'm currently at 159. Trying to get to 160 before I leave for vacation. I might hit a spot tomorrow before I go to work that may have fathead minnow. It's just going to be a little bit of trouble accessing it, so I'm probably just going to collage all these efforts into one video before I leave for vacation. Hopefully I can upload it before I leave for vacation, but we'll see. So yeah, we'll stop things here today. We got the one new species, the margin Madtom, and then we'll pick up where we left off on a different day and try and get northern hogsucker, because I believe that sucker I did catch was just a white sucker, and I already have white sucker on my life list. Alright guys, it is now the next day, June 28th, and we have made it to the pond that supposedly has the fathead minnow in it. I just rigged up a tiny piece of nightcrawler on my Tanago hook, and now we're just going to walk around this creek pond here and see if I can find any fathead minnow. I had to park across the street because I was in danger of getting towed where I was at, but hopefully there's some fish around and we're able to come up with another new species for the video. Guys, I spotted a small school of fish. Just gonna put a little tiny piece of nightcrawler on here and hope to get one of them to bite. Alright guys, super tiny individual here, but I believe this is the fathead minnow. I took a couple shots. I'll need to confirm it because it does look a little odd But I'm gonna go ahead and release this guy and then chuck him back in the water. That could be our first fathead minnow. We'll see. Well, that's kind of a cool find, guys. I believe I just caught a goldfish out of this little pond here. Not a new species for me, but we'll take a shot of him. Wonder if that's someone's old pet there. Pretty cool looking guy. Just gonna go ahead and let him go. Go back to targeting our fathead minnows. Alright guys, I don't know how well you can see that little guy, but that's a less stunted individual right there. So this is a fathead minnow. Whenever you go to buy bait, there's a chance you might be getting one of these guys. I'm gonna give him a drink of water real quick. And this pond is full of these little guys. He uses an introduced population to regulate mosquitoes and other insects, but still a cool species of fish that is surprisingly not too common around here, despite what range maps and stuff like that say. So I took a few photographs of this guy. The water's too dirty here to get a good look at this guy in the photo tank, so we're just gonna go ahead and release him. Alright guys, I think I'm probably gonna get out of here before I get too many strange looks. We're right beside a major road here. Although there's no fishing signs present along this pond, it still feels a little weird because I'm like in the middle of business complexes fishing a little pond here that most people think probably has nothing in it. The water is only a few inches deep, but there is a fountain in the middle that's kind of pumping air through the creek, which is allowing life to still exist here. But not much happening here at this pond, just the little fathead minnows and the one goldfish we were able to find. I already have goldfish on my species list. I caught that in Little Darby Creek back in 2021. So that is not a new species for us, but we did get the fathead minnow, which should be species number 160 for me. We just got the margin Madtom that you guys saw last night, and then we just got that fathead minnow here at the pond. I didn't really record much. There's not much cast to catch process going on here. You just got the owner half moon Tanago hook, and then I have that attached via a barrel swivel, which is attached to my main line, which is 6-pound Leland's S.O.S trout line, and you just drop that in front of the fish and hope one grabs it. Nothing too exciting. These Tanago hooks were actually probably a little too big for the individuals that are present at this particular pond, but we were still able to get 2 on the Tanago hook. Not an easy task as I wanted it to be, but that's fishing for you. So we're gonna exit today and go back home, get ready for work later in the evening, and hopefully before I leave for vacation next week we'll have another chance to finish out this video and try and catch a northern hog sucker back at French Creek like I was trying to do last night. The sucker we caught there ended up being a white sucker, so it was nothing new to me, but hopefully we can find something cool on our return visit. Today is day 3 of our local micro fishing video, and we are back at French Creek under the cover of darkness. It is approximately 9:05 p.m. right now. I've made it to the spot here, and we are going to be on the lookout for a northern hog sucker here. This is a different spot on the creek than I was at the beginning of this video. We've moved upstream a little bit, and supposedly there have been some northern hog sucker observed from here in the past, but I don't know how plentiful they are here in French Creek, so we'll have to see. But the reason I'm putting in all the time here is because the next easiest spot I know of to get northern hog sucker would be like an hour and 20-minute drive into Maryland to get them. which I might have time for later this summer, but it's a lot easier to put in time 10 minutes from my house than it is an hour and 20 minutes away. So we're going to get to work and try on the ugly stick and the Tanago hook. We have a little bit of night crawler, and we're going to see if we can find a northern hogsucker to make our life list 161 and add our third lifer for the video. All right guys, first catch of the day. We got ourselves some sort of shiner here, possibly a spot tail shiner or a swallowtail shiner. We're gonna get him a drink of water and then we'll look to ID him. But there he is. My gut is telling me spot tail shiner, but we'll see. Could be a swallowtail. Well guys, so far I've seen a few more Madtoms, but none have really been in catchable positions. I've been on the lookout for them though, because I would add a little more interest to the end of this video in the event that we don't find a hogsucker. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen any sucker species in general. I mean, the only two that could exist in here are northern hogsucker and white sucker, but the other spot I was at in the beginning of this video, I at least caught a white sucker. Here I'm not seeing white sucker, which is not a good sign. Got him. Let's see, what do we have here? It is just a tessellated darter. Cool markings on the back though. Take a shot and then release this guy. You probably won't be able to see it on the camera there, but there's a pair of glowing eyes that were looking back at me as a bug flew in my mouth. Most likely a possum or a raccoon, judging by the height of the eyes. It's downstream from me, and I need to walk downstream to get back. So if I don't spook it, we'll end up seeing what it is. I've definitely seen some hogsucker here, but the individuals are pretty small, as you would expect. They are still juveniles at this point. At least most of the ones that are up here. Here's one right here. I doubt he'll want the bait. I switched from bits of worm to a little piece of damselfly or something like that, and I got interest from the hogsucker. It spit it out, and then that was that. And a crayfish came along and tried to steal the little damselfly from the hogsucker, and the hogsucker didn't really appreciate that. It kind of spooked off, and I had a hard time getting the hogsucker re-interested in the bait after that. I got him to spit it out one more time, and I tried to set the hook on him like as hard as possible, and that didn't really work out for me. Harder there, but that's not anything that we need after the hogsucker, which I don't see right here. There have been shield darter recorded from this creek, but I'm not seeing no shield darters. They have a real square shaped pattern going down their sides. All right guys, that is going to do it for today's episode. It's actually stretched over 3 days, but that's going to conclude the video nonetheless. We did not find our, well, we did find our northern hogsucker. We just unfortunately couldn't stick it on the hook. But I guess there's a limit to how much luck I can have in one video when it comes to chasing down the local species I still need, because there's not many of them left now, and the ones I'm after aren't incredibly easy to catch. So we did come up with 2 new species in this video. Number 159, the margin Madtom, which came from our first night here on French Creek. I did see 2 more of those today, but they just unfortunately wouldn't want to bite. They were in a little bit deeper water than the one I found at the beginning of this video. And then we came across a fathead minnow as well, a pretty ugly one at that, but it was a fathead minnow nonetheless. That was out of a pond in the middle of a I guess we would call it a business complex or something like that. So those was an introduced population to control bugs, mosquitoes of that sort, stuff that lay their eggs in water, stuff that people don't really like being around. They are supposedly native to this part of Pennsylvania. We just didn't find any in the creeks in the past. So I'm going to focus on walking back out of this place now, because it is wooded and it is in the dark. I can see the bridge though, about 100 feet down. So we're going to walk towards that and then get out of here. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I know it wasn't the most entertaining. I didn't film a whole lot. I just showed more catches nonetheless, pretty much. But hopefully you found the margin Madtom a little interesting at least. And if you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And the next series of videos will be coming from North Carolina, given that the fishing is good and I have a lot of footage to show you. But we'll be chasing down some new species there, of course. I have a couple different spots mapped out, and if the conditions are right, we'll be doing a little more of this, some headlamp micro fishing around some boat ramps, and we'll see what else we can get into species wise. So hopefully we find some cool stuff down there that would be a little bit cooler than the stuff we get locally here in Chester County, Pennsylvania. And I will be seeing you guys in North Carolina then. Adios.